Hi, welcome to part 2 of my video about the Kerch Bridge attack. In part 1, we looked at how the bomb was actually delivered to the bridge. In this video, we will focus on how the bomb was constructed. With the capture of the Kherson region by Russian forces, and the subsequent opening of the Crimean Canal, agriculture in the fertile peninsula has boomed. The Crimean Peninsula has about 1.2 million hectares of arable farmland. On average, each hectare needs 45 kilograms of ammonium nitrate fertilizer per year. This means that the Crimean Peninsula has an average importation requirement of about 150 tons of ammonium nitrate per day. So, this represents about 10 truckloads of fertilizer crossing the Kerch Bridge every single day. Ammonium nitrate is a great source of nitrogen for plants, but it is also a very powerful explosive. Since the discovery of ammonium nitrate, our world has been blighted by large-scale detonations of this chemical. We have come to call these events not explosions, but disasters. Ammonium nitrate has an RE factor, or a relative effectiveness, of 0.42. This means that 10 tons of ammonium nitrate has the equivalent explosive power of 4,200 kilograms of TNT. Just 20 of these 500 kilogram bags would be enough to create the blast that rocked the Kerch Bridge on that fateful night. Russia is by far the largest producer of ammonium nitrate in the world. And just like most of the world, Russia attempts to limit access to this dangerous chemical to prevent it falling into the hands of terrorists. However, in Russia, these measures are not difficult to circumvent, and orders can simply be placed online for large quantities of ammonium nitrate. According to several Russian news sources, the truck that exploded on the Kerch Straits Bridge was indeed carrying fertilizer. However, just gaining access to sufficient quantities of ammonium nitrate does not imply having a viable bomb. Ammonium nitrate is notoriously difficult to detonate. Here we can see pure ammonium nitrate being heated with a blowtorch. It won't even burn. In fact, the best it can do is to melt. Now, if we add a fuel, such as sawdust, the mixture will readily combust. Since the attacker would only get one shot at this attack, they would have been highly motivated to ensure that this attack was successful. To do that, they might have decided to make one of the bags of fertilizer more sensitized. This would ensure that the rest of the charge would detonate correctly. To sensitize ammonium nitrate requires adding a fuel and something to raise the temperature of ignition. Normally, this is done by adding diesel fuel and aluminium powder. This mixture is called ANFO, and it is commercially used in the mining industry for blasting. So with 500 kilograms of ammonium nitrate, 30 liters of diesel fuel, 20 kilograms of aluminium powder and a small cement mixer, the ANFO could have been prepared in just a few hours. Then it could have been repackaged into the original bag, and together with the electronics, detonator and booster charge, resealed, and returned to the rest of the bags of fertilizer. Anyone wanting to detonate ammonium nitrate would need to cause a shock wave traveling at least 2,700 meters per second, to pass through the material. And a standard detonator, or blasting cap, would not achieve that. What is needed is a booster charge. A booster charge is a high explosive material that is capable of being detonated by an electrical detonator. Essentially a small bomb, to trigger the larger device. A typical booster charge could be composed of a commercial plastic explosive, such as C4 or Semtex. However, it is more likely that the attacker used something like Russian PVV-5A plastic explosive, as there are large stockpiles in most former Soviet republics, and it doesn't contain a tracing agent, unlike most other modern plastic explosives. A tracing agent is like a chemical fingerprint that is useful to forensic investigators and can help to determine how the attacker obtained the explosive. Clearly, this is a trail of evidence that an attacker would prefer not to leave behind. The package containing the electronics, detonator and booster charge would have been quite small, perhaps fitting into something as small as a cigar box, and could have been easily hidden inside the special bag of fertilizer. The electronics package could have simply been commercial off-the-shelf, hobbyist-grade boards, with some custom firmware. This custom-written firmware could be used to trigger the bomb initiation, but what was the event that fired the trigger? What caused the blast to occur on the bridge, and cause it to explode, exactly where it did? I first want to look at the location of the blast. Many have commented that the attackers deliberately targeted the exact place where, on the adjacent train line, a fuel train happened to be located. I contend that this was just coincidence. The total length of the fuel train was just 350 meters. This means that, even if the train was stationary, there would only be a time window of 14 seconds to detonate the bomb. My contention with this concept is that, only if the driver of the truck was the one who triggered the bomb, would this level of accuracy be obtainable, as the attacker is unlikely to know the exact timing and location of the locomotive in advance of the attack. I am convinced that the attackers were actually aiming for the apex of the bridge. At that location, the damage sustained, both to the bridge and to the prestige of Russia, would have been maximized. Some are skeptical of any coincidences that occur, even though they happen in our daily lives, without us even noticing. Let's look at the options for triggering the bomb. These are driver-initiated, remote triggering, or GPS location triggering. We will also consider combinations of these options. It has now been established that the driver of the truck was a local Russian citizen, called Mikhail Yusupov. He was a lifelong truck driver, and he was not known to harbor any anti-Russian sympathies. Also, his personal profile is about as far away from that of a typical suicide bomber as it is possible to be. In fact, he made a good living, mostly due to the presence of the Kerch Bridge, which he had driven over on a great deal of occasions whilst hauling freight. I think that is very unlikely that the bomb was deliberately triggered by the driver. It seems that he was nothing more than an unwitting participant in this attack. So, I will eliminate the driver-triggered option from this analysis. There are 4 GPS satellite constellations currently in operation. All of these operate in geostationary orbits, and are approximately 34,000 kilometers away from the surface of the Earth. This great distance means that the signals from these satellites are very weak and easily blocked by trees or other obstacles above the receiver. This means that it would be almost impossible for the bomb electronics to be able to get a reliable GPS signal. The electronics would be inside a bag of fertilizer, which was inside the trailer of the truck. And so, with such obstructions to the GPS signal, it is very unlikely that this method could be used to trigger the bomb detonation. Next, we will look at a remote detonation of the bomb, triggered by the attacker. In this scenario, the attacker would watch the bridge remotely, and then use some kind of radio signal to trigger the bomb once it reached the correct location. So, the attacker watched the traffic on the bridge from an observation point at the Crimean end of the bridge. On this map, this is the location of the main span of the bridge. Also indicated is the actual point of detonation and the direction of travel of the truck. Here, we can see, from the Crimean end, how the bridge is inclined upwards towards the apex of the bridge. Around the Kerch fortress area, there are some potential locations for an observation post. This point, here, whilst being the closest to the bridge, is not suitable, as the truck would only come into view as it reached the very top of the bridge. Another possible location, here, is lower than the bridge itself, so would not offer a view of the truck, and the railway bridge would obscure the view. The area to the north of the bridge is 5 kilometers away, and in darkness would also be implausible. I will now consider a hybrid of the previous options that would appear to be highly plausible. The driver is known to have used the ATI.su website to get the contract for delivering the fertilizer. This service features a tracking system application that the driver must install on their cell phone, and allows the owners of the goods to track the delivery in real time. This is how I believe that the bomb was triggered. Essentially, this is a ready-made system that can be co-opted by terrorists or other attackers to deliver an explosive payload to their target. The driver of the truck was completely unaware of the true nature of the cargo that he was carrying. He was a non-combatant, and as such, his death is technically a war crime. The attacker would not even need to be in the same country when the bomb was detonated, because the bomb could have been triggered using an online web portal. So, on the balance of probabilities, this is what most likely happened. The bomb was delivered by an international ProStar truck to the Kerch Bridge. The truck was driven by Makir Yusubov, who was duped into driving the bomb onto the bridge. The bomb was constructed from between 10 to 20 tons of ammonium nitrate fertilizer. The fertilizer was acquired locally in Russia, probably by online order. At least one bag of the fertilizer had been converted to ANFO, and that a booster charge was used, probably around 2 kilograms of plastic explosive. I also believe that the bomb was detonated via the internet, and that the bomb was fitted with a cellular data module, and that the attacker used the tracking feature of the delivery service app to trigger the bomb when it was on the bridge. In part 3, the final part of this investigation, I will describe, in detail, how the attacker actually carried out this bombing, and construct a timeline for the attack.